My assignment is called A Rose by Any Other Name. This is for the capstone seminar in our department. It is called Introduction to Critical Theory. And I am addressing the challenges of AI by helping students develop rhetorical abundance and their rhetorical analytical skills. This whole thing is inspired by Renaissance Dutch philosopher Erasmus, who wrote a book in 1512 called Copia, Foundations of the Abundant Style. And he gave plenty of examples of how one can express the same idea or the same sentence in hundreds of genuinely distinct different ways. I was also inspired by Latin American writer Jorge Borges, who wrote a short story called The Library of Babel. So it's basically an infinite library, and residents there, they are called librarians. They spend their lives searching for meaningful text in the chaos. The library is not well organized. So the whole thing is an allegory. And I think it works really well for our era of the AI. The library supposedly holds all the knowledge, but actually, because of its randomness, it's like AI's recombinatory mechanism. It makes it difficult or nearly impossible to access, and the library appears to have infinite variations. But ultimately, the library is inevitably cyclical. AI-assisted fluency is very different from adequacy. That kind of fluency often disguises, often masks inadequacy. So I want to promote self-efficacy in the era of AI, to give them tools to deal with the challenges in the era of false abundance. We have so many texts, so many images, a lot of them generated by machines on the fly, very quickly. But AI is actually a genre machine. Genres are all about patterns from a literary perspective. And so that's what we're doing. For example, in Shakespeare, a rose by any other name would it smell as sweet. So we start with something so simple and try to rewrite it. You can modernize it. You can use corporate language, legal jargon. You can adopt a more casual tone, and to express that core idea in genuinely distinctive ways. You can augment the message. You can amplify it. You can look for a gap, like my title says, this unspoken words. What is unsaid? Perhaps you can start from there. And in this way, you could begin to cultivate your own rhetorical abundance. You can begin to understand better AI's machine of genres. But once you take a closer look, since you now have rhetorical abundance, you will be able to understand. It's actually a lot of repetition. It's a lot of the sameness disguised as abundance. Erasmus gave a simple example. Your letter pleased me greatly. So let's take that sentence, your letter pleased me greatly. And he offered over 100 rewritings. So for instance, the perusal of your letter charmed my mind with singular delight. Or you can say, I was in no small measure refreshed in spirit by your grace hand. Here we don't talk about letter, but actually the hand that writes. You can say, at the sight of your letter, the frown fled from mine's brow. If you want to do a kind of neutral but always uplifting corporate language of modern day, you might say your thoughtful correspondence was well received. If you're a lawyer, you might say the content of your communication has been duly noted and is deemed agreeable, and so on. So there are many ways to do this. You might have, for example, since I also teach film studies, you can watch a very short scene in a film, and we can collectively write on the spot a very short 60-word analysis or reflection, and have students work in small groups and identify one sentence that seems to be representative. That seems to be how that person tend to express themselves. For example, they'll say clearly a lot. And now we work together, helping each other in rewriting that sentence in at least 3 genuinely distinct ways. So that's a way of kind of improving writing, cultivating metacognition. So the idea here is multiplicity. Try to help them understand, appreciate, and master multiple versions of expressions. I've observed very effective intellectual growth seeing students doing this because we are targeting something very small, very feasible. And at the same time, we now understand better how AI generates its claimed abundance. Of course, you can then have AI do the same task. The exercise by itself is interesting enough. It is doable. It is something small that we can all tackle. If you do this repeatedly, students would master their own rhetorical abundance. Thank you.